Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you find yourself on the timeline. Today, or this evening for me, I'd like to talk about my synchronistic events called the Jesus Loves You connection. Now, for those that are watching, I just want to let you know that I'm not a religious person. I'm very spiritual. So I just wanted to get that known. So I'm going to go with a little bit of background information on this connection. Here I am at one of the spots that these connections happen. This is called the Grotto in my hometown of Sudbury. So I'm going to take it back. I'm going to bring up some past information that will tie into the now, and also try an experiment and see if over time something happens with it. So to go back, in 2012, I had gotten sober, and I had moved to the North Bay area in Ontario, Canada, and I had written a few poems. So one of these poems, do keep in mind because it'll tie in a little bit later, and it was called $5, and a part of the poem was $5 is all I got, and I'm willing to bet on this game called love, because love's all I got in this game. So now keep that in mind, $5. Now, so the first time that I experienced a synchronistic connection, the Jesus Loves You connection, I was working at this one job doing e-chat. People would chat in through the computer and ask for help with their phone service and this and that. And that the first time that a Jesus Loves You connection happened, I was going on my break, and at the time I was smoking, so I went outside on my break. It was the beginning of summer, and I was going to my car, and I noticed just down my row of cars, there were all these tiny little pamphlets that were stuck in the windshield wiper, except for mine had two. And I was like, haha, that's funny, I got two. Jesus loves me more than everybody else, haha. So I just dismissed it, but I kept one of the pamphlets, and I still have it to this day. And the second time I had a Jesus Loves You connection was still in this town that I was living in at the time. And it was maybe a month and a half later. And I was at a beach just 100 yards away from where I was working, actually. And I was at this beach with a similar name to a beach here in my hometown. So it felt familiar to go there. And so here I am, I'm playing guitar on the grass at this beach, and there was only one other person at the beach, and it was a lady, and she was on the beach, and she was tapping her foot to me playing. So after a little bit of time, I asked her, hey, can you hear it? She's like, yeah, you should come down and play for me. So I went down to the beach, and we had a great time, great chat, and so over time I got to know her, and she ended up being a minister at the Air Force Base in that town. And we had lunch together at least once, from what I recall, and we kept in touch by email. And in one email she sent me, she said, oh, Jesus loves you, and he told me himself. And I'm like, oh, well, you tell Jesus in Australia that I love him too, right? You know, so far I've gotten this little pamphlet, or two pamphlets, that were stuck in my windshield wiper down my row. I was the only one with two. Then this minister from the Air Force Base told me that Jesus loved me himself. Now the third time it happened was in the same town, and it was in close to the fall now, and now I was room and boarding at this gentleman's place, and I was helping him renovate his kitchen. So the day we started tearing the kitchen apart, I was prying with a crowbar the baseboards from the wall. Sorry about the bugs, it's that time of year. So I might be swatting here and there. So I was prying away the baseboards from the wall while he was hauling them outside, and all of a sudden I hear him call my name. So he's like, hey, come outside, I gotta show you something. And he didn't know about any of these connections, okay? So I'm just letting you know that too, that he didn't know about the prior connections. So he calls me outside, I go outside, he's like, look down. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So on the back of one of the baseboards that I had pried away, because I was just going at it, I wasn't paying attention, there was a little happy smiley face, just like the pamphlet had, and it said Jesus loves you on the back of the baseboard. I was like, oh my God, okay, so this is crazy now, right? Well, no, it gets crazier. So this is where we move forward a year, and here we are where it continued on. So now I'm in my hometown, living an hour and a half away from the town that it all started at. And I was walking at this place called the Grotto, and I just want to give you a view. It overlooks the downtown area, and there's the Stations of the Cross all set up here and there. See, there's one. Oh, there's the trains. But yes, as you can see, there's the seat of Jesus and Mary right there, and there's another station for the Stations of the Cross. But we have Jesus behind us. One night, a year after all of these happened, I was walking up here by myself, and do I not find $5 in front of the cross here? Okay, so I was like, oh, okay, now this is 4 signs that Jesus loves me. This is hilarious, right? And so I'm like, this is pretty spiritual, and this is pretty cool. So I kept that $5, that $5 from the poem, and the next day I was gonna go downtown, I'll put up a new bank account and call it a day. And that morning, the next day, after finding the $5, one of my buddies, he messaged me on Facebook when I had Facebook at the time, and he's like, hey, you gotta go downtown. There's these monks that are traveling through. I just finished talking to one. You should really go downtown and try to find them. They're totally up your spiritual alley. I'm sure you'll have great conversation. So I'm like, yeah, I'll see if I could find them, right? So early afternoon, I make my way downtown, and do I not run into one of these traveling monks? Now, I'm saying monk, but he wasn't in full regalia like a monk, so I'm just letting you know that. He spoke of spirituality, and he had these books to offer people if they wanted to make a donation, or even if not, that he had these books for people to grab. So we were having a conversation about life and about awareness and about spirituality. And finally, I look at this $5 bill that I found in front of the man here, and I'm like, well, here you go. My name is Andrea. And he's like, hey, my name is JC. It's nice to meet you. I was like, right, JC, $5. So I went from finding $5 in front of him here, like literally right there, I found the $5, okay? So crazy. So here we go. It gets crazier. So now, that was day 1. I find the $5 in front of JC, right in front of the cross. The second day, I'm finding it. I'm giving $5 to a monk named JC. The very next day, after giving JC that $5 bill, I want you to keep in mind, the intersection that I spoke to him at is across the street from an LCBO, which is a liquor store here in Canada. And there's a lot of downtown drunks that hang out near there. So they're like hawks on anything. So just keep that in mind. So the very same place that I gave JC the $5 bill from JC, I found a crisp $5 bill. What are the odds? Okay. I don't know if it's like crack the matrix, but that's pretty crazy. So the next time I had a JC connection, it wasn't as crazy, but it still amounts to something. And I'm gonna finish it off with kind of a joke. So I go to Al-Anon meetings, and Al-Anon is the support for people who are dealing with alcoholics or addicts, okay, in your family or friends. And so my first meeting in another town, which is close to Ottawa, this meeting was in a church called Our Holy Name, and as soon as I walked in was this massive mural of Jesus. So I felt very inclined to take a photo of myself giving a little kiss on the cheek to Jesus. So that was that. Now, if I could follow through with my joke, now, I think we're going to see the second coming of Christ when he gets off the Jesus juice, if you know what I mean. So that's what I'm going to end this with. Let me know what you think about that. So I started off with, once again, I'm going to recap. I started with the Jesus Loves You connections in a town that I had moved to an hour and a half away from my hometown. The first time it happened was a little pamphlet book that said Jesus loves you with a happy smiley face stuck in my windshield wiper. I had 2 instead of 1 like the rest of the ones down the road. Then the second time was a minister that told me that Jesus loved me, and he told her himself about a month or so after. And then the third time was later on that summer, early fall, where I pried away a baseboard that said Jesus loves you with the same happy smiley face. And those baseboards, just letting you know, they haven't been removed for at least 40 years. And so once again, they continued on in my hometown here, where I found $5 in front of his truly, right here, where I'm saying all of this. The next day, giving it to a monk named JC, and I had no clue his name was JC until after I gave it to him. And on the third day of the 3 in my hometown is when I found a crisp new $5 bill. So, moving forward, I have $5. Okay, I am going to leave it right here in good faith that good things will happen. And today's date, I think, is May 20th, so 2024. And I think the time is around 9 p.m. So I'm dropping this here in good faith for a wonderful Jesus Loves You connection, that whether it happens to me or somebody that I know. Okay, so stay tuned. Thank you.